Hi everyone, this is Devleena welcoming you all to another iconic episode of Icons Behind Brands. And today I have another special guest with me, Mr. Akshay D'Souza, a seasoned business professional with expertise spanning B2C and B2B industries. As a Chief of Growth and Insights at Mobisy Technologies, he's driving the success of their SaaS-based retail technology platform, Bizome. Akshay's industry recognitions, FMCG reports, and monitoring experience make him a true thought leader in scaling businesses. So let's dive in. A warm welcome to you, Akshay.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Devina.
Okay, so Akshay, I am excited. And before we get into it, I would love to know about your professional journey as well, a bit like where you have reached so far.
Yeah, at the moment, while I'm actually in Bizome, and I really like to take this journey back to what shaped me here, right? I think very early on, I remember this is we were in 12th standard, and we had like this 3-month vacation after you finish your board exams, and we were just waiting for results. And we said, let's just pick up some internship. And I said, why do internship? I said, let's get some pocket money and, let's have some money to spend and, your own money, and let's see what happens. At that point, I began selling credit cards. So, that was my actually first brush with anything corporate. I did it for all the wrong reasons, which is pocket money.
Okay.
But then I started loving what I was doing so much that, eventually money didn't matter, right? I think that was the key. And that really shaped me who I am as a person, right? I think because, it took away that, I'm not sure if I was very introverted before that, but I think I was moderate. But this actually got me very, very extroverted after that, because I was very, very comfortable going, talking to people, meeting people, having conversations, because that's what eventually all jobs are, right? I think you'll have to forge relationships. You'll have to have conversations. You'll have to, build trust in that relation. And if I can do that while selling credit cards, I mean, it was very, very easy doing it, doing other things. I think finally aiming to get that connect with people is what most corporate life is, and that's something I think that the initial seeds for me were sown at that point, and that experience actually I valued for the rest of my life, and I think that's what's helped me build confidence as a person, travel outside my comfort zone, and all of that, right? I think. So that's essentially been what shaped my professional journey. I did a lot of, I did my management a couple of years after my first job, which was more a technology job and telecom job. And then I did a lot of stints in consumer businesses, both in telecom, a little bit in OTT, and now in a SaaS company, which is Bizome for the last almost 5 years now. So it's been a very, very fun journey. Companies of different sizes, different types of businesses, B2B, B2C, applying learnings, cross learnings from both.
Okay.
Whoever said that marketing in both places is very, very different, it's not true. You can actually apply cross learnings. The principles remain the same.
Wow.
I think just a matter of application that you kind of see there.
Yeah.
So that's the nutshell.
Yeah, we often discuss about, it's two different, B2B, B2C, but thank you for bringing that. The fundamentals are same, the principles are same, as you said.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So let's talk about the e-commerce. The e-commerce has impacted a lot of marketing strategy, right? So how it has impacted, and what are some key trends in online marketing and advertising? So let's go a little deep on the marketing side.
Sure. So look, e-commerce is obviously here to stay. I think there is no debate about that, right? It is growing. The digital universe in India is also growing. Your second tier, third tier, and even deeper, it's actually coming online at a very, very rapid pace, right? So I think it becomes simpler for people to kind of adopt e-commerce, because we are in a mobile first generation right now. I think everybody's introduction to technology is through a mobile phone. So I think it just becomes very, very simple. One of the key things that is happening in online commerce is this whole, the next generation. A lot of vernacularization, local languages are coming up in a very, very big way, right? I think so. Companies will have to look at that for sure. A big aspect of online is two things, right? In marketing, measurability is very, very easy compared to any of the other means, traditional marketing, right? I think so. Measure. I think measure to death. I think that's important, and even more important is personalize heavily. I think the more personal you can get, the more preferences and tastes you can figure out, far better job you will do. The risk obviously remains the big challenge of online, however, remains privacy, right? I think you'll need to always keep a fine balance between personalization and privacy, and make sure you don't cross that line, right? I think that's really going to be the another key aspect of online.
True.
But I think what we're actually seeing as a trend, one of the biggest trends that I'm actually seeing now is this incredible initiative called ONDC. I'm not sure if you are aware, or the readers are aware, or listeners are aware. ONDC is this open network for digital commerce, which is being built, by the government of India. They appointed a body and they're kind of putting out. What they're doing is they're trying to get digital demand, which today goes to platform players like say Amazon or Flipkart or Nike or anybody of those kinds, to the mom and pop store, the local kirana guy who can fulfill that demand. So how do I get digital and online demand, which we know is only going to increase, which is only going to exponentially go to the level of as many mobile phones we have or as many people as we have. That demand coming to the benefit of the neighborhood store. And I think that project at the moment is in the early stages. It's where UPI used to be before UPI exploded, right? It had just come in being, there was the era of wallets from, companies like Paytm and Mobisy, which were very big at the time. But then UPI burst into the scene, and then we know what happened to the rest of them, right? I think those wallets evolved into UPI channels themselves, right? I think so similar. We're at a similar stage for ONDC. And I see a lot of companies jumping on the bandwagon. Where we are at in Bizom, I think we are championing a lot of companies to kind of look at this aggressively. A lot of distribution is becoming smarter right now. Product distribution becoming smarter. There are a lot of online-based distribution is happening there. So I think this shift, if it comes good in the next 2 or 3 years, you will see a marked change in the even online functions today in India. And India is just a starting point. Like we've seen in UPI began with India. Now we are exporting the technology to GCC countries and even beyond. I would see that ONDC in a 5-year time frame will definitely be a technology that's not just India centric, but I think distributed beyond just India if we are able to show even limited success in that platform. So that's the big shift that's actually happening on the online space.
Superb. So it's pretty exciting to see the changes which is happening in the online segment right now, and how marketing is, taking a entirely different shape because of the technology impact here. So would love to talk more about this. Akshay, you spoke about personalizations. Okay, so let's talk about that. In what ways the personalization become an essential factor in marketing and marketing growth, and how can businesses effectively leverage it?
Yeah, so let me give you an example rather than just giving you a general chat on this. I'll give you a real life example. So my first brush with personalization happened, while we used to do very basic level personalization, but real personalization, deep personalization came up when we were actually trying to do content personalization, right? And this is music personalization, and this is when I was in one of those telecom companies. So we used to run this content portals for various people, and it was always generic to start with, right? I mean, most popular in the region or geography, and that was the level of personalization.
Okay.
We essentially came down and finally built an engine which was personalized, I'd say, at the level of Devleena, for example. So if Devleena is listening to us music, she has a particular taste in music which is very different from the taste in music that Akshay carries. Which is very different from the taste that maybe a Ravi may carry, or a Sumit may carry, and so on and so forth, right? And I think that realization in a B2C business that we had at that time was a driving force. And music being also inherent part of a person's life. I think with technology at that point never, Spotify to the world were not very active, right? I think they were still not even there in India at that point of time. So I think when we actually build this personalization engine, when we built with even the basic algorithms to start with in the beginning, my uptake rates went up, content take rates went up by more than 2x just on launch. And over the next 3 to 6 months, as we added deeper and deeper and deeper layers of personalization, that 2x uptake went to about 3 to 4x. So that really opened our eyes to the power of what personalization can do, and that was my first real deep brush with personalization. Ever since that day, I think I use personalization in everything that I do.
Okay.
Even if you are part of marketing teams where you have to deal with masses, personalization is definitely a harder job. But if you use technology, it can become a smarter job. And I think that's the real key. And there are various levels of personalization, right? There's a superficial personalization, and there is even very deep engagement, right? Even intent personalization, data personalization. The more deeper you go in terms of intent, the better it is. So classic, right? Spotify today, all of that, or even Apple Music. What differentiates them is personalization. So also Netflix, right? Netflix that you open is very different from the Netflix that I will open, right, on my screen. There is so much content at the back of it. And similarly, it is even for businesses, right? Today, I'm in a B2B organization where we target consumer companies. My message to everybody is never the same. I think we are always hunting for a lot of intent data, a lot of those intent triggers that can help us do, very, very deep personalization. And you'll be surprised. I prefer also personalization which is direct, right? I think direct communication and active communication I'm a big fan of that compared to passive communication.
Awesome.
Right? I think so. These are some of the things that I think really bring to the fore the power of personalization. And I think the principles remain the same, and I think we're applying the same principles in B2B, and I think we're managing to scale up beyond India at a significantly faster rate than we used to earlier.
Awesome. So really like the level of personalization and the depth of personalization where we are going. Starting from male, female, geographical categorization. Now we are in a space where we are talking about active communication, one-on-one communication, and brands talking to Devleena is very different. Brands talking to you is very different. So that level of personalization is very exciting, and the way technology is making it a very humanized way, the way it has been presented to the world is really fascinating, Okay, so my next question is also related to that, as you said about active communication, and even in the team, you said my message to one person would be very different from the message to the another team member, because they are different people, right? So here it's about diversity, okay, and it has an importance in marketing. Okay, so can you share your thoughts on diversity and inclusion in marketing, and how it can contribute addressing the issues, the social issues as well?
Sure. And I think what you're bringing up is actually a very, very serious topic and an important piece to address in corporate life also. I think at a very fundamental level, right? In marketing, being able to address a diverse and inclusive audience is an absolute must, because as a brand, you stand for a certain set of values, right? And now the question is, how well are you able to communicate that value? I think comes out with having a very, very diverse plan. And I'll put an operational example to this, right? Classically, most marketing teams, right? Deal with social media, right? Almost everybody deals with social media. I don't think there's any business today that doesn't work on social. a lot of what work they put in social revolves around a content calendar, right? Classically, everybody builds a content calendar. I mean, even you may build a content calendar while you kind of build your brands and all of that.
Yeah.
I think the question now in the content calendar is, whom are you building that for, right? Are you looking at diversity in terms of just festival? Are you looking at diversity in terms of just gender? Are you looking at inclusion there? Because look, fact of the matter is, in Indian businesses or even most businesses, traditionally it's been a men's foray, right? I think there have been, decades and decades of men being in leadership positions and very limited gender equality on the boardroom, right? I think that is one myth and one leadership piece that actually corporates I see today are trying to break. And that's an important piece that's happening there. The other, we essentially looking at, I've seen some, enough people actually pushing the case of, even today's variant time, even transgenders, right?
Yeah.
Today, they don't have enough of representation in, let's say, white-collar jobs. And why not, right? They do not have enough representation even in education, for example, right? How can we make it easier to bring some of this into the fold, and marketing is just amplify and help build that cultural change, right? And essentially tell people what you stand for. And I think what it does, it also brings that audience, it also attracts that audience towards you who kind of agree with your mindset. I think you're trying to get people of a similar mindset to, talk to you as a brand. Even though you may be selling, for example, I'm selling a beauty product, but I think you want to tell them what you stand for, right? I think, and that's a very, very powerful stage in terms of building a brand itself, right? Talking about the values. So sometimes talking about stuff that may be beyond, what you do. So I give a classic example, right? For years, we have heard that fair and lovely, right?
Oh, yeah.
Lovely is not only if you're fair, right? I think the fact that you can be lovely irrespective of being fair, I think is a big shift. So I think that shift is being done by the brand themselves now. So I think you're seeing that change happen in the industry, and I think that should kind of reflect into whatever you put out to them, because the fact of the matter is, in marketing, you are in a unique position to influence, a very, very large set of people. And I think and that becomes very, very important, and you can actually accelerate change by virtue of doing that. So I think from that perspective, I think diversity, inclusion is extremely important to bring the audience, similar thinking audience, to kind of interact with your brand.
Yeah, and eventually they become your brand advocates.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, in fact, what we apply in the marketing is the same formulas which we apply in the life as well. That inclusion is very important in the relationship, and the same formulas happens in the relationship between the consumer and the brands.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about in what ways a marketing campaigns can be used in raise the awareness about any important social issues or driving positive changes in the society.
Look, there are so many beautiful campaigns, and let me kind of relate it to one, right? A couple of them at least. There's one of these customers of ours called Mankind Pharma.
Okay.
I don't know whether you've seen. So they have this Prega News campaign that they've done. That any news is good news, not just saying what is good news, right? I think in our society, one of the things that we relate with good news is, child being born.
Yeah.
But they're saying, look, any gender is good news. You don't need to know the gender to break the gender myth and essentially that infant mortality. I think there has been a lot of work put behind that campaign. And I think as a brand that we work with, I think that's been phenomenal, because you are trying to break gender myths, and I think you're trying to break societal challenges that you've had historically, conditioning that you had.
Yeah.
I think this is not years of conditioning, right? This is centuries of conditioning that you had, in societies like India, which you're trying to break down. And I think you're just accelerating that change by putting the message out to so many people. Another great example that I can see is, in our jobs, I think I see HUL, Hindustan Unilever, putting a lot of effort behind getting gender disparity in the boardroom to come out, to be evened out. And I think the last that I knew from what I'd seen is about 40% of the leadership now is women in the workforce. And now for a company of that size, to have been able to try and narrow that gap so heavily is huge. Because look, the fact of the matter is, you take today any competitive exam, right? Women are not behind. If anything, they're slightly ahead, right? And I think translating that intelligence into saying, look, I translate that into business, is a big decision backed by management. So I think that's another piece that I think I'm very proud of seeing what is happening. Another beautiful example, I think, defense services, right? I think remain the bastion of males forever. We see so many stereotypes and glass ceilings being broken, right? I think we're seeing Air Force. I think even seeing now some in the armed forces, right? I think we're seeing women entering there. So I think that's another great break of gender neutrality. I think getting in. I remember this another campaign that Dow did. I don't know whether you've seen that.
No, I have not.
Stop the beauty test is what it says, right? And as a
premium. Yes, Dow. Yes, I remember.
So they've done some beautiful work there in basically trying to tell, stuff is, everybody's can be beautiful. You don't need to have a beauty test to kind of do anything there. Or even size 0 models being the only models that you need to have, right? I think to tell you that all shapes and sizes are good, and that's how people are. I think so. There is a lot of work that can be done and should be done, I think, in this space. I think the question is, what are those issues that you want to relate the brand with? I think some of these issues can come as straight fits to the product that you sell, but I think it is important to kind of go down that path and figure out what is your mojo as a company and what does your brand stand for, and hence where will you put your money behind which social cause, which will essentially reflect what the brand that you want to build really. So that's really the USP that brands build over time.
Right. So Akshay, as you took us through with various examples, starting from Prega News to Dove to Hindustan Unilever to one more example you have taken, that was also good. So it actually brought goosebumps to me. The kind of, when we look back, the kind of impact which brand has done it, they have worked so hard, breaking these conditioning, breaking these stereotypes, and it portrays that brand has a huge power and a huge responsibility in influencing people and influencing the masses, and I think we can never, we as a marketer, we can never overlook the power which we have, the responsibility which we have to influence the society in bringing the positive changes.
Absolutely.
Before we wind up the conversation, Akshay, I want you to talk to our viewers and to our aspiring marketing professionals. So what is your message for aspiring marketing professionals?
Yeah, look, fundamentally, like I said, one of the things that actually worked for me early on in kind of deciding what I like, what I don't like, building myself was internship. There are plenty of them around, not just in across diverse set of companies, diverse set of functions, diverse set of projects. Try a lot of stuff. Getting to know what you don't like in a project is great, because then you know exactly where your interest doesn't lie, where you do think you can't excel. I think the classic ikigai, I think, is what you need to find through a lot of experimentation, and I think you can do it early on. I think that's definitely one of the things that you should do. Personally, I like the trait of people being real, right? I think I don't like a facade. I prefer people being upfront, direct, honest, meaning what they say, and I think that's an important trait that I look for in people. I think as a marketer, I think very often we let go of customer feedback that comes to every business. There are a lot of people. We associate customer support as complaint. It's not complaint. If you associate that as feedback, because marketing needs a lot of customer feedback, it may need you to go outreach. It may need you to also listen to what people are saying. I think there's a wealth and it's a gold mine available for every business if you treat it as such. And finally, right, I think current generation is digitally native. So I think that's fantastic, right? Because future of all businesses are going to be digital. A lot of technology is going to be used. But don't let that ever restrict you from going and meeting people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think meeting people is the essence of any business, any relationship, any role. You will, of course, do great in digital. Digital definitely helps you.
Yeah.
But meeting people is something you can't replace. And irrespective of being a marketer, I think meet your customers, meet your stakeholders, all of that, right? I think that's something that I would strongly advise the current generation of marketers to actually go and follow as well.
Superb, Akshay. I think these are like great piece of advices coming from a real-time experience. I can tell, I can say it, because it's very important for when you are in a very early stage of your career. It's very important to know what exactly matters. So as you said, find what you want, who you are. The ikigai of your life, and that is what is going to direct you towards your goal. Be real, and it's very important. Being real is also saves a lot of your time and the others time as well, time, energy, and effort. And you actually you actually go into your goal pretty faster when you are real, right? Feedback, that also, something which you have explained it well. The moment we say feedback, immediately we think it's a complaint, it's negative. But feedback is something, it's an input. You are listening more from your customers, and which is extremely, extremely important when you are in a position of marketing and advertising and businesses and digitally savvy is important, but meeting people, you cannot avoid that human touch. So with a diverse topic, and we have spoken about technology, marketing, leadership, and life, and I think we have got a power pack episode through you, Akshay. Thank you for being here, and thank you for
having me on this. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, Akshay. it was a wonderful conversation. Very easygoing conversation, and I had a lot of fun. Throughout the time.
The pleasure's been mine. Yeah, I think I enjoyed this myself too.
Super. Okay.